Hey guys, welcome back another video. A teenage girl is secretly smoking pot on a train. Her name is Jaime. She is traveling to meet her aunt to live in her house for the meantime. After the welcoming hug, they proceed to eat dinner. Jaime's aunt, Beth, and uncle, Jean-Francois, are Jehovah's Witnesses. She has no choice but to also participate in their upcoming religious gatherings. The next day, she immediately starts her first day of school as a transfer student. Her striking personality leads Nate to befriending her. After class, she takes a breath of fresh air on a bridge near their school. And when evening comes, she shows up in Jehovah's Witnesses meeting, wearing a dress that she doesn't even like wearing. The meeting starts with a song. While everyone is singing, Jaime's attention is caught by a certain girl across the room. As she cannot take away her eyes on her, the girl senses her stares. The girl smiles at her, but she shyly looks away. When the meeting ends, she is approached by the girl and introduces herself as Mbhrecap. They talk for a few minutes, then say bye to each other. At home, Jaime announces that Mbhrecap invited her to dinner. Beth and Jean-Francois are overjoyed by it, saying that Mbhrecap is a lovely girl. The scheduled dinner night comes. Jaime is greeted by Mbhrecap. Frank, Mbhrecap's father, welcomes her and tells her to feel at home. During Frank's prayer, everyone's eyes are closed. Shortly, Jaime opens hers and Mbhrecap does the same. They stare at each other until the prayer ends. After dinner, they go into Mbhrecap's room, looking at Mbhrecap's drawings, talking about Mbhrecap's mother, who left the truth, resulting for the family to imagine she is dead, and playfully playing the piano, which is soon interrupted by Amanda, Mbhrecap's sister, telling Jaime that it's getting late. Arriving home, Jaime is still bothered by what Mbhrecap told her. So she asks her aunt where Mbhrecap's mother is. Beth simply answered that no one in the truth is allowed to have any contact with Mbhrecap's mother because the person was disfellowshipped when she had chosen to leave. Back at school, Nate invites Jaime for a pot session. Because of his several questions, Jaime opens up that she moved to give her mother space while coping from the death of her father. When afternoon comes, Mbhrecap secretly takes her to a museum where Amanda's husband works as a security guard. Being a fan of art, Mbhrecap shows Jaime a huge painting of Jerusalem at the time of the crucifixion. Jaime asks if it's also a Jehovah's Witness thing. Mbhrecap answers no. Then they talk more about Jehovah's Witnesses' beliefs. In the next scene, we will see that Jaime is back on the bridge, reading a Jehovah's Witness magazine. She is also back at Frank's house, where she is pressured on being baptized and on doing a field service. That night, Mbhrecap invited her for a sleepover. While she is still wide awake, Mbhrecap is sound asleep. However, when she turns her back against Mbhrecap wraps her arm around her. She nudges her, thinking that Mbhrecap only unconsciously did it, but after Mbhrecap holds her tightly, she confirms that it was in fact intentional. Morning comes and Mbhrecap invites her again for dinner. She declines because of her plans after school, but says she will come over after. At school, Mbhrecap is seen not participating in class prayer, eating alone and looking out the window where she sees Jaime and Nate. The two went into Nate's house to hang out. When Jaime remembers her plan with Mbhrecap, she asks Nate to give her a lift. Amanda sees her being dropped off by Nate, so Amanda inquires if Nate is her boyfriend. Before she could answer, Mbhrecap steps in anger and hushes Amanda. Mbhrecap feels jealous over Nate, but at the end of their conversation, they manage to only laugh it off. Once more, Mbhrecap invites Jaime for a sleepover. In bed, Mbhrecap is again sound asleep, while Jaime is wide awake. But as Jaime turns towards Mbhrecap initiates wrapping Jaime's arm around her. In the middle of the night, Amanda wakes up and sees them in that position. Amanda keeps it to herself, but she pressures Jaime more on doing the field service, then recommends her to borrow one of Mbhrecap's dresses. Jaime finally agrees on pioneering, but declines to wear a dress. During the field service, Mbhrecap does all the talking. Although the guy they talk to is clearly not interested, Mbhrecap makes it seem like it was a good field service, because the guy took one citadel and donated some cash. Jaime casually lives in Frank's house because of Mbhrecap doing crafts, playing, reading, brushing teeth together, and going hiking. One day, she receives a call from her mother telling her to go back because she is feeling better already. Jaime is glad to hear it, but requests not to go back right away. In the next Jehovah's Witnesses meeting, Amanda can't help but notice James' not-so-good influence on Mbhrecap. Therefore, she purposely borrows her from Beth and Jean-François, telling them that she could use a help. When it's just the two of them alone, she makes Jaime feel guilty of drawing in their magazine and the bad influence that she brings to Mbhrecap. She also indirectly tells her to do more field service. The following day, Jaime is feeling sad because it is her first birthday after her father died. Moreover, her mother did not even mention it when she called her the other day. To make her feel better, Nate buys her a cake. Although Jaime is not a Jehovah's Witness, she participates in their meetings and activities, so she is also prohibited from celebrating birthdays. While she is enjoying the cake, Mbhrecap and Amanda see her. The sisters learn that she is celebrating her birthday, and Amanda tattles her. She gets scolded by her aunt and uncle because of it. Jean-François tells her to respect Mbhrecap's beliefs. He also tells her to participate in other community activities if she still likes to keep hanging around with Mbhrecap, and if she still plans on staying. Jaime accepts their conditions, but being a person with a strong personality, she frankly tells them that if they wanted her to leave, then they should have just said so. Because of what her uncle told her, Jaime feels anxious when Mbhrecap approaches her, thinking that they are not allowed to talk or hang out unless it's in Bible study or anything related to Jehovah's Witnesses activities. Mbhrecap denies it, then low-key gives her a present, a meteorite. Jaime says she loves it. Soon, she tells Mbhrecap that her mother called asking her to come home. Jaime does not want to go back, and Mbhrecap feels the same way. Their conversation ends with Jaime accepting Mbhrecap's invitation to come with her to a Bible study. At the Bible study, Mbhrecap covertly rubs her pinky against Jaime's thumb, and when the Bible study ends, she walks Jaime home. Before they could reach the house, she asks Jaime to pray with her. Although Jaime finds it odd, she still goes along with it. She also closes her eyes upon Mbhrecap's request. When Mbhrecap's prayer ends, she suddenly kisses Jaime in her lips, yet acts like she did nothing. As Jaime is startled, she goes to Nate's crib instead of going home. She tells Nate what she had to do in order to keep hanging out with Mbhrecap, and confesses to him about their kiss. Nate is surprised hearing it, but he also finds it cool. After their next field service together, Jaime tries to hold Mbhrecap's hand. Mbhrecap pulls her hand away, though then talks about the guys in their congregation that have shown interest in them. She says the four of them should go out together sometime, as it could be fun, and her father would not mind. Jaime simply agrees and goes out her way feeling pissed. Thinking about what happened, she throws the meteorite that Mbhrecap gave her. Their movie night comes. Jaime is picked up by Marc-Olivier, Simon, and Mbhrecap. While on their way to the cinema, Mbhrecap makes up for what she did by holding Jaime's hand. And inside the cinema, she signals Jaime to come with her. They go to the restroom, and she locks themselves in one cubicle. She could no longer resist her emotion, that is why she instructs Jaime to turn around. When Jaime does as told, Mbhrecap hugs her tightly. She responds by holding her. They feel each other for a while, then they go back to their seats. On their way home, Mbhrecap continues showing her affection by laying her head on Jaime's shoulder. The two guys do not even notice what is really happening. They drop Jaime first, and as Jaime forgets her scarf, Mbhrecap follows her. This is when they finally succumb to their overflowing emotions. They kiss each other torridly until they hear the honking of the car. At home, Mbhrecap still feels what happened. She even imagines Jaime in her bath before Amanda interrupts to ask her how Jaime and Simon got along. Shortly after, their topic turns into their mother. Even though Mbhrecap was very young when their mother left, she remembers things about her, and she misses her a lot. Amanda feels the same, but warns Mbhrecap not to talk about it to their father. Beth is feeling happy that Jaime and Mbhrecap have lately been going out in service so much. Little did she know that the two are only making out somewhere, and at the end of the day, Mbhrecap only fabricates their field service report. One day at school, Jaime officially becomes a not-so-good influence to Mbhrecap. She convinces her to skip class to hang out. Mbhrecap agrees in a condition that she gets to pick what they do. After she pretends on baptizing Jaime, they again make out. Later, to answer Mbhrecap's question, Jaime reveals that she did not experience having a boyfriend before, but had a relationship with a girl. Mbhrecap feels jealous over the girl, though she denies it when Jaime asks. Days passed, but what Jaime told her still lingers on her mind. Jaime consoles her by saying that she and the girl had been over for a really long time. They hug, and just when they are about to kiss, Jean-François happens to pass by across the street. He sees them kissing on the lips, and he makes sure Jaime knows that he saw them. When Jaime goes home, it does not go all awkward since Jean-François has not informed Beth yet and won't be home until late evening. Next day at school, Jaime finds a letter in her locker. It is from Mbhrecap, telling her to go to the museum. It turns out that Jean-François came home late that night because he talked to Frank about Jaime and Mbhrecap's relationship. Jaime worries that Mbhrecap might get disfellowshipped too, so she asks her to come with when she goes back home to her mother. Although Mbhrecap wants to come with Jaime, she assures her that she won't be kicked out in the truth. She says she will talk to them, and then they kiss goodbye. A day quickly passes by. When night comes, Jean-François demands Jaime to come with them to the meeting since it is going to be his first talk. In the middle of their song, Mbhrecap's family walks in. Later on, Jean-François invites Frank to speak. Frank shares a Bible verse, then announces to everybody the engagement of Mbhrecap and Marc-Olivier. Upon hearing it, Jaime rushes out the hall. Beth and Jean-François obviously did not expect that kind of announcement either. Mbhrecap turns around and finds out Jaime is no longer in her seat. Jaime goes home crying. After some time, she goes to Frank's house. She did not utter a word, but Amanda says Mbhrecap is upstairs. She walks past Frank, then enters Mbhrecap's room. As opposed to what she thinks, Mbhrecap clarifies that the marriage was her own idea and that nobody forced her into it. She did it thinking that in the new system, she and Jaime will be together forever. The new system that Jaime never believed will come. Jaime encourages Mbhrecap to come with her, but Mbhrecap refuses. Mbhrecap then tells Jaime she loves her. After their kiss, Mbhrecap requests for Jaime to stay, which Jaime also turns down. In the next morning, Nate bids Jaime goodbye. He hands her one of his collectibles, and then they give each other a hug. On their way to the train station, Beth comforts Jaime of her worries. She tells her she loves her no matter what, and upon arriving at the station, they hug tightly for a goodbye. Years passed, and Jaime moved on in her life. She again rides the train to visit her aunt, but when she arrives, it is Mbhrecap who picks her up. She meets Mbhrecap's child, Luca, whose name is after a city in Italy. Luca wanted her to go list in Europe that she told Mbhrecap. Mbhrecap decides to take the long way. They stop at their favorite place to go to before, and Mbhrecap shows Jaime all the postcards she sent to her aunt. It appears that Beth kept Mbhrecap posted on what was happening about Jaime. Arriving at Jaime's aunt and uncle's house, Jaime asks Mbhrecap if she is okay. Mbhrecap replies that she is not, as she thinks about her all the time. Jaime says the same, and when she tries to take off her seatbelt, Mbhrecap stops her. The movie ends with Jaime saying again her line "not gonna let me go," and Mbhrecap shaking again her head. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this summary, you will surely enjoy watching the full film.